that demo session. From 16th of September, we'll start with the regular sessions. So before we begin, before I tell you what to expect, why to expect that, and what is Azure going to do for you, right, in the world of data engineering, let me just quickly introduce myself. So my name is Shreyas. I am a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm an MCT. I hold 9 Azure certifications, right? I'm Databricks certified as well. And I've been teaching Azure and data related courses, right? Cloud and data related courses since past 10 years, right? Have taught more than 50,000 associates working for various organizations, right? And I've worked in various data and cloud roles, right? So that is, a brief introduction about myself. Now, coming on to what you can expect from this training, right? What this training is going to be all about, and what all we are going to cover and how we're going to do it, right? So first of all, course structure, right? Now it's very simple. It's going to be weekday classes from Monday to Friday. We'll be connecting at 7 a.m. to 8:15 a.m. IST. Uh, by default, the course duration is 45 days, but trust me, it's gonna exceed that limit, right? Since we'll be covering so many topics and we'll be spending time on the important Azure resources. Why they are important, we'll just discuss in a bit. Now, when you enroll in this course, you get access to the LMS portal, the one that you just saw, right? That LMS portal contains the day-wise class recording. You'll find it for each and every day that we cover the training, right? So in case somebody is unable to attend, yeah. One second. Yeah, fine. We'll give everybody time to speak. Till then, please make sure that your mics are muted. Right. Now, as I said, you will have day-wise recordings in case somebody misses out on a day. Let's say you are busy with some other priorities and you do not make it to the class. You will have the recording uploaded to the portal in a few hours, and then you can go through it, right? So that helps you in the scenario where you have missed a couple of classes or a single class due to some reason. These recordings will be given to you for lifetime. You'll have lifetime access to these recordings. Along with the recordings, you'll also get PDF notes topic wise. So each and every topic that we're going to discuss, right, within a particular service also, there are going to be multiple sections. So you'll receive notes for that. And you'll get a topic wise hands-on lab also, right? We'll be sharing the lab guides with you so that you can perform the particular scenarios and the scenarios that we discuss in the class on your own, in your own environment, right? So that gives you a good practice, and that is what is very important here. Until and unless you practice on your own, you're not going to understand things, correct? We'll also have projects towards the end of the section, right? Towards the end of the course also, right? End-to-end project involving various services that we'll cover, right? We'll be sharing interview questions with you, topic-wise interview questions, and we'll also help you with resume. So that is what the overall course structure is going to be. Now, when it comes to the syllabus for this course, right? Now, I will assume that most of you have, or all of you have never ever heard of Azure. You don't know what cloud computing is. That is where we are going to start this course from. So if you have not heard about Azure, if you've not heard about cloud computing, even if you've heard about it and you do not understand what it is, right? These are the high level topics that we'll be covering in this course. We'll start with the Azure fundamentals, right? We'll talk about the Azure storage. We'll talk about data lake storage. We'll talk about different databases that you create in Azure, right? And starting from Synapse, we'll dive right into the data engineering section, right? So starting from Synapse Analytics, we'll start discussing about the different SQL pools that we have, right? The serverless SQL pool, the dedicated SQL pool, Synapse pipelines. Then once we are done with Synapse, right, which is also the data warehouse on Azure. So when you want to create a data warehouse, the service that you use is Azure Synapse Analytics. When talking about databases, we'll see both SQL and NoSQL databases, such as your Cosmos DB, right? Then we move to Data Factory, where we'll see how you build pipelines for data movement, data transformation. How do you do it using mapping data flows? So as of now, I pretty much understand that most of you will not be knowing these terms, but these are the topics that we'll cover. So through Data Factory, as I told you, right, through Synapse, we'll be covering the broad concept of data warehousing. So through Data Factory, we'll talk about how do you build data pipelines, right? How do you move your data from one place to the other place, right? Along with data transformation. So within Data Factory, we have something called as mapping data flows that help you with data transformation, right? So while you're moving your data, you also transform it along the way, correct? And then you load it to your destination. So that is what we are going to cover within Data Factory. Now, obviously, there are a lot of other, smaller topics in these sections, such as uh, talking about the integration runtime, working with Data Factory, getting to know the artifacts, what is a data set, what is a link service, what is a trigger, right? All of that we'll cover within Data Factory. So Data Factory, Synapse, we are going to cover end to end. Even if you do not understand what cloud computing is today, trust me, when we cover Data Factory, you will be building data pipelines with ease, right? You will understand everything about, which is there about building a data pipeline and then moving and transforming your data, right? Now, with Synapse and Data Factory, the majority of our focus would be on batch processing. So we also need to understand stream processing, right? So within Azure, there is a service that lets you, create uh, data transformation using streaming data sources, right? So we'll use over here Event Hub, which is again, an Azure resource, right? Or an Azure service that lets you ingest, streaming data, right? And then we move towards Python and PySpark. Now, my assumption is that most of you sitting here have no history with Python and PySpark, but trust me, if you want a really good future in data engineering, right? If data related roles are what you're looking for, then Python and PySpark is a must, right? Especially PySpark, correct? For data transformation, we'll be using PySpark. Now, PySpark will be used in two places. One, within Synapse Analytics. So there is something called as a Spark pool within Synapse where we'll use it. And the second is Databricks, right? So within Databricks, we'll work extensively with PySpark. We'll see a lot of things within Databricks. First of all, we'll try to understand what Databricks is, right? PySpark and Databricks, trust me, it adds the kind of value to your profile that you cannot imagine. When you are looking for a job in data engineering, when you're looking to upskill yourself in data engineering, PySpark and Databricks is a must, right? In today's world. So we'll see what Databricks is, right? We'll talk about Hadoop. We'll try and understand how it started, how big data processing started, right? We'll talk about Hadoop. Obviously, we are not going to cover Hadoop, right? But we'll understand what was Hadoop, how it used to work, the map reduce function and everything. And then why was there a need to create something better that was Apache Spark? And then why was there a need to create Databricks, right? Which is nothing but optimized Apache Spark for you. So we'll see the Spark architecture. We'll try and understand, the master slave relationship between the cluster, right, between the different nodes which are there. And once we are done with that, we'll also have an overview about Microsoft Fabrics, which is a fairly new technology, right? It's a tool by Microsoft where you can perform your data engineering functionalities. It has something called as a lake house that we'll see in Databricks, right? So there's a one lake in Fabrics. There's Data Factory within Fabrics. So Fabric makes everything much easier. All right. It's a unified solution where multiple people working in different data roles can all come in together. All right. So it's a unified solution. So we'll understand fabrics as well. Right. So these are going to be the core tools or technologies that you're going to learn throughout this course. Right. And trust me, you go today, search for any Azure data engineering role, you will find these terms mentioned there. Fabrics, you might not find, right? Because as I said, it's a fairly new technology. It's still being adopted in many of the places. It's not even, discussed as of now, right? But Azure Storage, Azure Data Lake, Azure Databases, Synapse Analytics, Data Factory, Stream Analytics, PySpark, Databricks, along with a prerequisite for this course, and that is going to be SQL, right? So there is only one prerequisite for this course, that you understand SQL, right? You're able to write SQL queries. Even if you do not know SQL, it's fairly easy. I think 1 week's of effort will get you up and running with SQL. So that is something that you'll have to put in, right? The effort. SQL, we'll see the queries, we'll see different transformations also that you can do using SQL. But we are not going to cover it as a tutorial, with the perspective of teaching you what SQL is, right? We are not going to cover it in that sense, right? But then again, SQL will come once we reach the databases. And we are almost going to spend almost 2 weeks here. Not 2 weeks, 1.5 week, almost around that time, right? 1.5 week is the time that we're going to spend on storage, data lake, and fundamentals. So that is your time in which you can cover the SQL, right? So this is the only prerequisite. Python, I'll give you a learning path for Python so that, side by side throughout this course, you're also learning Python. PySpark, I will teach you from very basics of creating a data frame, manipulating a data frame, working with the data frames. I will teach you how do you create these data, what is the data frame API, what is the data set API, right? What is an RDD? All of these we'll discuss, right? So PySpark, I will teach you completely. Python, again, we'll see the basics of Python, but then as I said, I'll be giving you a learning path also that you can cover and become a pro in Python. Because if you want to become a really good data engineer, this is a must for you, right? SQL along with Python and PySpark is really important. Once you know PySpark, right, Databricks becomes important, because Databricks is where you create those notebooks and write your PySpark code, right? Obviously, Databricks solves other purposes also, right? Where you can create jobs, or you can create delta live tables. So all of that is there. But with Databricks, the majority of it, you're going to create your notebooks and run them on the Spark cluster that you create. So this is going to be the syllabus, right? Now, the big question, why do we need to cover all this, right? Why do we need to study all of this? Why is data engineering so important? And what has happened in the world that people are today, focused and towards data engineering? And it has also created a demand, in the IT sector. People are looking for data engineers. So I'll show you a simple survey analysis, the market analysis, as to what the data engineering market was before, what it is currently, and how is it expected to grow, and how does that affects the jobs as well. Now, moving to the next slide. See, so this is, the data by the marketdataforecast.com, and it talks about the data engineering services market, right? If you see, it's growing at a rate of almost 18% annually. All right, almost 18% growth rate annually. In 23-24, there was a specific market size. Currently, it sits at $88 billion, right? So now you can just imagine that the current market sits at $88.8 billion, which is expected to grow to $325 billion in the next 8 years, right? So that is the kind of growth that we are expecting in data engineering. And there is only one single reason for it, right? Today, organizations are running behind data. Everybody wants to collect data from every source. Right from the moment when you are going to, search for an insurance, a car insurance or a health insurance online, they want to collect your data. That is the first thing that they want to do. Before they show you anything on their websites, they'll ask you, you tell us your number, you give us your email address, right? So that is the most basic place where they're collecting your data, where you actually know that they're collecting your data. And the second place is where your applications, right? Every touch on your mobile screen is generating data. Every click on a website is generating data. Every picture you click, every document you scan, every mail you are writing, it is generating data. And trust me, majority of this data is being used by some organization in some or the other way, right? So organizations are going to rely more and more on data. They want to get better data. They want to get, quality data in order to make better decisions. Obviously, it is related because that is what they're using the data for, to analyze your behavior, to analyze its customers, right? So if you're looking for a product on Amazon.com, don't think you went there, you came back, nothing happened. It generated some data, and obviously the company stored it. Every website you visit, every application you download, everything. Even today, people talk, right? Uh, if you talk about a specific topic, and it has happened with me multiple times, I'm not sure how many of you experienced this personally, but you talk about something, and then you open your phone, and you will see that you get that particular ad. Has it happened to anybody? It has happened to me multiple times. I talk about something, I open my phone, I'm going through social media, and immediately the same thing is there in form of an advertisement in front of me, right? So even your phones are listening you. So that is the reason behind this explosion that we've had in the world of data, right? Uh, there's a study that said, that 90% of the data that we have today currently was generated in last 3 to 4 years, right? And that is the kind of growth that we are seeing with data. And companies need, really good data engineers today to come work with this data, collect it from different sources, put it into a warehouse, clean it, transform it, make it useful, so that my data analysts could come into the picture and then take over and deduce from the data, right? Make some sense out of those numbers. And that is the reason why today the fastest growing tech occupation is data engineering in terms of the numbers, right? So the year over year growth that data engineers have seen is almost 50%, right? It's around 50%. This is also from the same, website, the market research website that we saw previously, right? So now data engineers are required. We understood that there's a huge demand for data related roles, especially data engineering. What skills are companies looking for? So I'll show you. These are the percentage of mentions of keywords in the job postings, right? This is from 365, website. SQL, 80% of the data engineering roles are today wanting SQL. They want you to have SQL as the required skill. Just look at the second position, Azure, Spark, data lake, data modeling, right? Through this course, you will learn all these skills. Obviously, SQL is a prerequisite, but what is Azure? How do you perform ETL using Azure, Apache Spark, data lake, data modeling, right? Because you're creating warehouses. So data modeling is important, creating fact tables, dimension tables, creating the snowflake schema, the star schema, right? That is also something which we'll cover in the class. So we are going to learn top of the technologies, right? The most in-demand technologies. And I'll show you one thing, right? What is the new reality in the data engineering jobs that you see today? And why does this word Azure matter so much, right? Why is cloud, and where is cloud coming in the picture from, right? Let's try and understand. If you do a simple search, right, on the web, obviously, and you find, let's say, or you're looking for data engineering jobs, right? You search for Azure data engineering jobs. On Naukri.com, there's almost 17,000, job openings for an Azure data engineer, right? Why not just mention data engineer? Why do we have to mention Azure data engineer? If you go today, whether on LinkedIn, whether on any job platform, you search for data engineer, right? In the prerequisite, 80% of those openings will have cloud mentioned. They will want either of AWS or GCP mentioned there. So there is a shift happening right now, right? A few years ago, if you had written data engineer on your resume, that was enough. Companies would have, treated you as a data engineer, and they would have, interviewed you as a data engineer, and they would have, asked you questions related to data engineering. But today, these jobs have become more specific. It's either Azure data engineer today, or it's AWS data engineer, or it is GCP data engineer, or let's say it's a data platform engineer, right? So this is not just a naming trend that is happening currently. It means that companies now expect you to show a very clear hands-on skill with a particular cloud ecosystem, right? They want someone who can design a very reliable pipeline, who can manage the cost on the cloud front, keep the data governance in place, and prepare the data for the analytics services and the AI services, right? Not just someone who says that they can run the batch ETL jobs, right? Recruiters move fast. When they open a resume, they scan for cloud signals, right? In the first few seconds, they're going to do for that. For Azure based roles, they look for keywords. They look for Azure Data Factory in your resume. They will look for Synapse in your resume. They will look for Data Lake. They will look for Databricks, Delta Lake, right? Event hubs, stream processing, CI/CD, role-based access control, managed identities. These are the terms that recruiters are going to look in your resume. You all would know about the ATS score, right? The application tracking system that they've developed. And what does the application tracking system do? It clearly matches your profile with the job, right? With the job description. And these are the keywords that it's going to look for. If those are missing from your your resume, right, which is required for the role, which is obviously now going to be cloud focused, because many of the organizations have already migrated to the cloud, and majority of them are still looking to migrate to the cloud, right? And that is where your profile quietly loses the priority, right? It's not that you lack talent, it's that your resume does not speak the language of the modern hiring filters, right, that have been created. And many capable engineers today, they stay invisible because their profiles tells an old story, right? They will mention they know ETL, uh, but they're not going to say I designed a governed scalable Azure data platform, right? So in this session, in this training, right, we are going to close that gap, right? The goal is to help you, reframe how you present yourself, and also upskill yourself, right? Not as just someone who moves data around, but as somebody who could build a structured flow, right? Where the raw data enters, it is cleaned, it is validated, it is stored in the organized layer, such as the gold, bronze, silver layer, right? The cost is optimized for everything, and you know it could be used for analytics. So once you start describing your work in that simple platform story, right, you stand out. You show that you understand how the pieces fit together. And that is what the hiring teams want now. A person who can think, a simple job, right, who has these skills, right? And this is not a slow process that has happened, right? We've moved to this particular place. How we got here, right? Why all of this mattered, whatever we discussed about, right? So phase one was the on-prem era. What is on-prem? On-prem, also called on-premises, right? It is a system where the organizations have their data present in their own data center, right? They will have their resources in their own data centers. So organizations will have their own data center within their own office campus, right? You would have seen the data center rooms in multiple organizations, multiple companies, right? So what companies did was they ran their databases and their warehouses in their own data centers, right? And pipelines were created. They were mostly batch pipelines. They were rigid. They were slow to change, right? The data quality checks were often manual, uh, or added in the later stage, right? Scaling also required buying new hardware, because when I have my own data center and I want to scale it, right? Obviously, I'll have to get more resources. I'll have to get more hardware, right? And getting that hardware is a very slow, expensive process, right? Where you have to procure it, you'll have to get approvals, and it's time consuming, right? Then we moved to phase two, that was the early cloud migration phase, right? Organizations were lifting and shifting what they already had to the cloud, right? They took the old workloads that they had and they placed them on the cloud virtual machines or a managed service on the cloud, right? They got some elasticity, right? They reduced the maintenance, right? But the design remained old fashioned, right? Little attention was paid to streaming data processing also, right? Open storage formats were not supported that much, right? And the layered lake structure that I told you, the bronze, silver, and the gold layer that we create today, the medallion architecture that we talk about, right? Uh, that was not there. I could not track the lineage of the data. I could not go back to an older version of my files, older versions of my data, right? There was no strong governance also. So the mindset in the early cloud phase was copy whatever you have, right? Just host it elsewhere. But now the time has changed. Now we are in phase three, which is the modern cloud data platform where we've reached today. The expectations today are different. Data lakes, warehouses, they are blending into a single unit called as a lakehouse model, right? Now we are not creating separate data lakes and a separate data warehouse. We are creating something called as a lakehouse, which takes the best of the both worlds, right? We want to be flexible with storage, right? We want warehouse like reliability, right? Businesses wanted both batch processing also and stream processing also to work together, right? They need more governance, knowing where the data came from, who used it, where it was saved, where it was shared, right? Whether the data is safe, whether the data is compliant or not, right? Data lineage is being tracked today, right? Engineers are asked to consider performance and cost at every step of building these pipelines and platforms, correct? And because of this shift, the job titles have also expanded, right? Because now it's not just about knowing ETL, it's about knowing ETL along with the cloud technology, right? And that is why you hear terms like Azure data engineer, AWS data engineer, and they will take over, right? Eventually they will take over because almost every organization is moving towards cloud, right? There are multiple reasons for it. There's availability, there is scalability, there is elasticity, there's disaster recovery. These are all some of the cloud benefits that you get that you wouldn't generally get in your on-premises environment. And the cost is one of the most important factors, right? Setting up a data center on your own versus setting up that data center on Azure, right? Using, or let's say provisioning those resources on Azure. It could save you millions of dollars over the years. All right. That is the kind of cost, cutting and cost saving that we're talking about here. Correct? Now, we understood why everybody is moving towards the cloud, right? We have a fair bit of an idea about it. We understand that today's roles, they require you to have either some experience with a cloud technology, right? You will have to, upskill yourself in Azure. So this is where, you know, our entire discussion on data engineering is going to be Azure specific only. We'll discuss about various Azure services. As I said, my expectation in this course is from all of you that you are absolutely new to Azure. Before today, you had not even heard about the term Azure, right? So that is the level that we are going to start from. You've not heard about cloud computing. You don't know what cloud computing is. And that is where we are going to build it from. And we'll see, the Azure portal. We'll see how you can create resources. What is a subscription? What is a management group? What is a resource group, right? What is a location? Why is Azure having multiple locations? We'll understand all of that, right? So why should you make the switch, right, from a normal, and your profile says an ETL developer, right? Or an ETL administrator or an ETL tester, why you should make the switch? So there are four opportunities for you in this, right? One is that cloud data engineers are among the most sought after professionals in technology today. Companies are investing billions in cloud data platforms, and they need skilled individuals to build and manage these pipelines for them, build and manage these resources for them, right? This is high in demand, and high demand directly translates to higher pay, right? More opportunities, right, for you. And the second reason is that the world's data gravity, is pulling towards the cloud. So while on-premises systems will exist, obviously for years they will exist, I don't deny that, but the growth, innovation, and the investment are overwhelmingly in the cloud platforms like Azure, right? So making this switch will ensure that your skills remain in high demand for the next decade and beyond, right? Third, your role will evolve beyond a batch ETL, right? You will design and build unified platforms that handle everything: big data processing, real-time streaming, creating live dashboards, data governance, right? The foundational data layers that we have. So your work will become more dynamic, it will become more strategic, right? And it will become central to the business success, right? And the fourth one, in the on-premises world, scaling means a lengthy procurement and setup, right? But in Azure, you can provision a massive Spark cluster in minutes to solve the complex problem, right? And you can shut it down when you're done. So it's not even that you have to see when you're procuring hardware for your company, for your organization, you're actually buying them, you're not renting them. But on Azure, you don't buy resources, you rent them. So let's say I want a compute power of 100 cores of CPU and let's say 500 GB of RAM, then I'll only be renting this out. If my work is done in one day, I'll only have to pay for one day's rent, which is very minimal. Compare it to buying these resources, compare it to investing in these resources, right? You're going to save a lot, right? Now, I know many of you will have a lot of questions, right? Some of you will mention, I am an ETL tester, I'm an ETL developer, I'm an ETL administrator. So is it a good choice for me? Let's see one by one. If you are an ETL tester, your advantage is that you have a data quality superpower, right? While many engineers are going to treat quality as an afterthought, you are trained to hunt for inconsistencies, right? Validate the transformations, ensure the accuracy. And in a modern data platform, right, this mindset is invaluable for building these automated solutions, pipelines. You already think in the terms of source, transform, target, which is the heart of data engineering. So you will leverage your SQL skills in Azure Synapse and Databricks. Your focus will be on learning to build automated quality frameworks using PySpark and then integrating them with Azure Data Factory pipelines, right? We'll see how all of that works. And you move from finding problems to preventing them, right? As somebody who's an Azure data engineer. For a developer, right, your advantage is that it's a most direct transition for you. Your deep understanding of ETL logic, mappings, workflows, it translates almost perfectly. Somebody who's been working with workflows and mappings, they can easily use ADF pipelines and data flows, right? Your transformation logics that you practice, lookups, filters, aggregations, right? They become ADF activities or they become PySpark function. So the logic is going to be the same, only the language changes here, right? And with ADF, you don't even have to write the code, right? Language is also not required with ADF. It's a no code, low code solution to create data transformations, right? Your parameter files that you had before will become your ADF parameters now, right? Or the Azure Data Factory parameters. So your primary focus will be learning Azure, embracing code-based transformations using Python and PySpark. And instead of writing to a database table, right, you learn to work with, files in a data lake, whether it's in a Delta Lake format or Parquet format. So that is a core concept of the modern lakehouse architecture, and that is something that you learn. For an administrator, you are like the platform owner. You're going to worry about the performance, the security, the scalability, and the reliability, right? They're already your priorities. But this operational excellence is often missing in pure developers, and it's very critical in the cloud, right? Managing users and permissions, right? How do you use Azure data sorry, Azure Active Directory, or Enter ID as we call it today? How do you manage role-based access control? How do you use monitor services, right? How do you optimize your Databricks cluster? How do you uh, implement CI/CD with Azure DevOps, right? So everything will be discussed in this course, right? You will learn to manage infrastructure as a code, obviously, to define your platform. You'll do Azure cost management, and all of you, from whatever background you come, right? it's not gonna matter because we are going to go from scratch, as I have already told you, right? In this course, in this particular training, why you should enroll in this course, I've already discussed. In today's, rapidly evolving technology landscape, simply having data skills is no longer enough. The most successful and secure careers belong to those who can build, manage, and innovate on the cloud, right? So this course is designed not just to teach you a set of tools, but to equip you with a comprehensive future-proof skill set, that will serve as the foundation for your long-term career growth, right? You will build a complete end-to-end skill set, right? In this course, we'll start from the foundation with Azure fundamentals, storage, data lake, databases. You learn the to build the bedrock, of any data solution. You'll understand how to design, a secure, scalable, and a cost-effective data storage solution, whether it's a data lake, whether it is Azure storage, whether it's a database, right? You'll also master the core engine that powers the modern data analytics. You learn to orchestrate complex workflows through Azure Data Factory. You will perform, big data um, warehousing and analytics using Synapse Analytics, right? And you'll also handle code first transformation. Now, when I say code first transformation, I'm referencing Python, PySpark, and Databricks, where you have to write the code to transform your data, right? And you'll have a future ready edge also with the Azure Stream Analytics, right? You'll learn to handle the real time data, a skill that is becoming critical in every industry, right? Even in uh, Databricks and PySpark, right? We'll see structured streaming. So streaming data analysis we'll see through a service which is dedicated service in Azure called Stream Analytics, and through structured streaming in Spark. All right. So many professionals also now, they know how to operate a single tool. Now, this course is not going to teach you one single tool. It's going to make you think like an architect who knows everything about everything. All right. You'll not just learn how to use Data Factory, you'll learn when to use it instead of Databricks, right? You will not just learn how to query the data, but you learn how to design a lakehouse that makes querying, data efficient and reliable. So this ability to make strategic decisions, right, or strategic design decisions, is what is going to help you a lot in the long term in your career, right? So you'll become more valuable, you'll become more in demand. Companies are desperately seeking professionals who can connect the dots, who understand the full data lifecycle, right, from ingestion to analytics. And by completing this particular course, you are going to position yourself, as a versatile problem solver who can build reliable pipelines, build automated data pipelines, manage both real-time and batch processing, right? Design scalable platforms and enable analytics, right? So that versatility is going to make you more valuable as an asset for an organization, right? So you are going to invest in a durable, future-proof career. The skills that you will learn here in this course, they are not temporary trained, right? I just showed you the kind of demand Azure data engineering has and the term Azure in most of the job openings have, right? So cloud computing, big data, and the need for data-driven insights are going to be the foundational pillars of our modern economy, right? So by mastering these comprehensive tools and services from Azure, you are going to actually align your career with, in that direction where the entire industry is heading, right? So you're going to build the durable foundation of knowledge that is going to help you and allow you, you know, uh, to adapt and thrive in the industry for years, right? So in short, this course is more than just a training, right? It's an investment in your professional future, and I will do my very best to give you the skills, the mindset, and the confidence, in order to build a successful and lasting career in your world of data. Fine. So with that, I'll just take up some of your questions. I see many questions in the chat, right? All right. So yes, we have morning batches and we have evening batches also. The evening batch started, a few weeks ago. So this is the morning batch that we're going for. Uh, What else?
Uh, Karthik raised a hand.
Yeah. Yeah,
Shreyas,
if you
can you?
want to go ahead and ask questions, right? You can do that.
Hi, Shreyas.
Yeah, hi.
Actually, one of my friend is planning to learn Azure Data Engineer course, but he does
Hmm.
not have much experience. He has passed out in 2024 itself only. So I have
Hmm.
suggested to learn only SQL and Azure Data Factory and some basic the, Unix and data
Hmm.
warehouse concept. Is that enough, or else do he need to learn entire data engineer course?
See,
I what I thought is he is not much clever
mhm,
student, so that's
mhm.
the reason I have suggested only to get the job itself only. So if you learn these technologies, it's enough to crack the interviews. I suggested like in that way. So what's your opinion on this?
See, my opinion is very clear. I have seen, I've actually worked as a, recruiter for my organization also, right? Taking these interviews. And trust me, uh, just learning a hand few or a hand-picked skill, right? It's not that helpful. Obviously, it's really helpful, right? In terms of learning a new skill can never be, bad for you, but it does not give you the overall picture, right? In case he works with Azure Data Factory, correct?
Yeah,
Where
no,
is he going?
no, he
Yeah,
didn't work.
yeah. I'll tell you. If he starts learning Azure Data Factory, for example, let's consider, right? He is going through activities, he's going through data sets. Where is he going to pick the data from? Correct? That is going to be either an on-premises source or a cloud-based source. What cloud-based source? It could be a data lake, it could be a database, Azure, right? It could be some other database also, like an Oracle database hosted on cloud, right? So therefore,
Yeah.
he needs to understand those services as well. Where is he going
Mhm.
to put his data, right? Once he has transformed it, either he can put it into a warehouse or he'll put it into a database, right? Because he'll have a structured table, or he can put it into a delta table, correct? Where are these found?
Mhm.
Warehouse within Synapse, delta table within your Spark cluster, right? When you create, and then databases, again, you need to understand Azure SQL databases and other databases which exist. So all of these services are interrelated. That is what I've been trying to tell you, that going for one service is not going to help you, since this entire infrastructure is interrelated. All right. When you are learning
Yeah.
Azure Data Factory, you will always learn about running a Spark notebook or a Databricks notebook as an activity, right? How are you going to
Yeah.
do that when you do not understand what Spark is, what is a Spark notebook within Synapse, or what is a Databricks notebook? What is Databricks altogether, right? So therefore, you know uh, all of them are interconnected. So I think, see, I don't find it wrong that you wanted to help them out, right? And I think you gave a really good advice also, right? At least start somewhere, right? Build on that later on. But then for me, if I am going to apply for a role, I need to know data factory, I need to know Synapse, I need to know data lake, I need to know PySpark, and I need to know Databricks. That is very essential in today's market, right? PySpark, Spark, Databricks, right? Obviously, Databricks implements Spark in the core. The core working of Databricks is a Spark cluster itself, right? The compute engine. So obviously, it's going to be related. Everything is going to be related to today.
The continuation for this PySpark is for handling for a large volume of data, right? Is it
Yes,
necessary to learn PySpark always?
it is very much in demand, right? See, again, if you want to do data analysis using SQL, you can go ahead and do that, right? But then, what do people want? What do organizations want, right? So if they are going for a data engineer, they will always want PySpark as a skill. It will always be, right? Either the role itself does not require anything to do with Spark, right? It's simply a data factory role, right? Or a Synapse role. Then you don't have to worry about it. But in majority of the data engineering roles that you'll find online, Python and PySpark is going to be a mandatory listing.
Yeah, but my concern is in real-time project, the volume of the data will be for any table, one table less, right? So at that
Mhm.
time in projects, so there is no use of PySpark, right?
You're right, but
Say,
then again, see, they will use it, right? Even for smaller
yes,
data sets, they are using it.
yeah, okay. Then in other case for data analysis, it is okay. But I have
Yes.
knowledge on AWS Glue, that is
Hmm.
ETL. So for running
Yes.
notebooks, so if
Hmm.
you visually create the ETLs, so
Yes.
beside script will be generated in PySpark.
Yes.
In that case,
Absolutely.
PySpark is necessary, right?
Even in ADF, right? In when
Yes,
you
yes.
use Azure Data Factory, there is a concept called mapping data flow, right?
Okay.
I discussed about it.
Yes.
So mapping data
Yes. Yes.
flows, they help you transform data you know, in ADF, right? So they
Okay.
give you
Yes.
options to transform the data. Now,
Okay.
behind the scene, the mapping data
Okay.
flow converts into a Spark code, all right?
Okay.
And a
Similar to
Spark
Glue,
just,
right?
yes, absolutely similar to Amazon Glue. Same
Okay,
thing.
sir. Okay.
That here also we have the same service. See,
Okay.
in
Got it.
majority of the cloud, right? The cloud
Yes, sir.
changes, the name of the services changes, but eventually
Okay.
they perform the same task. For example,
Yeah.
in AWS, you have EC2, correct?
Yes.
We have
Yes.
Azure Virtual Machines,
Yes. For storage,
correct?
some blobs. Yes.
For storage, you have Amazon S3, right? Something
Yes. Yes.
S3. You use S3 for storage. Here we have data lake. So services are the same. Eventually, if
Yeah.
you want a
Functionalities.
firewall,
Yeah.
yes. If you want a firewall, both are going to provide the firewall. Just the name is different, right?
Okay.
Data warehousing in AWS, data warehousing in Azure. Eventually, you are using a data warehouse. Just the name is different
Yes. Okay.
for
But
most of the
in
services.
curriculum, I didn't hear about airflow. What about that?
We'll not be working with Apache Airflow. It's a very niche skill,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
if you'd want, we can discuss about it, but that is not a part of the curriculum in this course.
Okay. Okay, sir. Yes. Got it.
Yeah.
That's I'm clear about it.
Yeah. Others, if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I have two
Yeah, hi.
questions. One is regarding Fabric. You're touching Fabric entirely, or just giving an overview? The second thing is, the project is a real-time project or any data migration project?
Project. So Fabric, see, since it's not actively being used in the industry, I can tell you very well, right? And I will not shy to admit that, initially when Microsoft launched Fabric, it did not work out as they expected, right? Because most of the organizations are already using other tools, the ones that we discussed about, and these organizations continue to use these tools and they will continue to use these tools, right? Within Fabric, we'll see the major components of it, right? Like how can I bring, use ADF within the fabrics? How I can use data warehousing within Fabric? How I can, you know, use the concept of one lake within the fabrics? So
Power
those
BI.
important points we'll cover. Yes, integration with Power BI, right? Data visualization using Power BI. That also we'll see integration in fabrics. All right, but this is not going to be a Fabric only course. That is there. All right, even majority
Yeah.
of
What about the
job
projects?
postings. Yeah, so projects, yes, we'll have end-to-end projects, towards the end of the trainings, right? The projects that we'll have will cover multiple services. For example, we'll see an integration of, data lake along with the Databricks medallion architecture, along with data factory, along with a warehouse, and then visualization through Power BI also.
In these 2 months or 45 days course, PySpark how many days will cover?
We'll cover PySpark till we are covering Databricks, right? Majority of our
Okay.
data transformations that we'll see within Databricks, I think we'll cover PySpark for almost around more than 10, 12 days. All right, so we'll
Okay,
spend
got
around
it.
10 to 12 hours on PySpark. We'll start from very basics of PySpark, how to read files from different locations. How do you read data and create data frame? If it's a Parquet-based file, if it's a CSV file, if it's a JSON-based file, right? So from multiple file sources, how do you create data frames? And then we'll see a whole list of transformations that you can do with the data using PySpark. All right, whether it is sorting, whether it's string functions, whether it is datetime functions, whether it's aggregations, group by, right? Everything we'll see.
So the project related, I'm still confused. So you will take any banking wise project or specific any project you are holding for teaching end to end, because that's the main thing in interview. They are asking about the full entire Medallion architecture with
Yes.
with the entire flow they are asking. So if that flow gets any error, that also they are asking it again. So the
Yes.
project is really important here. So only I'm just again insisting how you will be doing
Absolutely. See,
the project.
in the project, whether it's a banking domain or any other domain, right? Eventually, what you should be able to explain is the data flow, correct? How you're ingesting data, in what format you're ingesting it, how you're cleaning it, what services you're using, where you're hosting it, right? So you should be able to explain that end-to-end data flow. And if you want a specific scenario, I'll give it to you. But the project that we have, right, it covers mostly data integration, data transformation, and data loading. And it covers all the different services that you just heard, right? Now you could map it to a particular domain. You can say this was related to banking, or it was related to insurance, or it was related to some other field, right? You can relate those. I can help you with that.
No, if I map to that, they will ask what type of data, right? Again, it's a structure or semi-structure. So what type of data, all those things also come to the
So
picture, right?
if you want, see, that is what. So if you want a domain specific, I can give it to you as well.
Okay.
Hmm.
So with use cases also, right?
Yes, use cases also. And
Okay.
potential errors also that you faced, and how you resolve those errors also. Will give you everything.
Okay, good. That's good. And what's that flow actually? It's from you're picking from on-premise ADF to
Yes,
Databricks,
we are
transforming
picking
and
from on-prem SQL Server.
okay. Well, please explain that flow actually. So using ADF, Databricks, then
See,
storing into data lake.
data warehouse within Synapse. See, from on-prem to data lake, from data lake, you're picking the data, transforming it using your Databricks notebooks, running it through ADF, and then once the data is cleaned and transformed, you're loading it into Synapse.
Synapse, okay. Synapse is like data warehouse, right?
Yes, Synapse is the data warehouse in Azure.
Okay.
Others? All right. So,
Shreyas, actually, sorry, we
yeah.
have one question from the chat. What is the relation between Databricks and PySpark?
Oh, okay. I saw that. Just a second. Yeah. See, Databricks is a platform, right? They're very closely related, but Databricks is a platform that basically enables you with a optimized version of Apache Spark, right? PySpark is the language that you use to interact with this compute, with this architecture. All right. So PySpark is going to be my language that I'm going to use to talk to the Spark cluster, right? Similarly, you have Scala also, you can use SQL also, you can use Java also, right? That is the flexibility that the Spark architecture gives you. And within Databricks, right? Databricks is the platform where you create that cluster and you write your code using PySpark to run on that cluster, all right? To work with the data, to transform the data. Clear? See, Databricks as a tool, as a platform, it does not have storage natively. It does not have compute natively, right? It does not provide the compute. Databricks gets attached to your cloud environment. So when I'm creating it on Azure, it will connect to my Azure account, What Databricks will now start doing is, if I'm creating a compute, it will provision virtual machines within my Azure account. If I want storage, if I want to store the data, it will use Azure storage, right? So it actually gets attached to your Azure environment, and whatever resources you want, whether it's compute, whether it is storage, it provisions it from the Azure account. Once you have the data, you will want to transform it, correct? But what transformations to do? How do you tell, Databricks that this cluster that you have created and the data that I have, I'll be using this cluster to process my data. But what processing do I need to do on the data? That is where the language comes in, PySpark API. That is how you talk to the Spark cluster within Databricks. That is how you give the instructions that this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to transform the data. This is the output that I want. I think it would make sense now. All right.
So
Others?
that means we can call Databricks in AWS also, right? The
Yes,
service also
yes.
available.
It aligns with all the cloud providers. There's a Databricks for AWS also. There's Databricks for GCP also, right? You can use it in any cloud. Yes, see, if you're already working or having ETL experience, right, you are going to enjoy these sessions because you're going to relate it. The concepts you already know, right? Most of it you already know, correct? But you just don't know it in terms of Azure. How does Azure help you do it? And that is what we are going to understand in this, right? So you'll use your existing ETL experience and you'll align it with the Azure cloud.
So how difficult will be for non-coders, sir? Because I'm not a Python guy. I'm also from data stage and Teradata background. I
Yeah.
know SQL, but I'm not good in Python. But
So you'll have to
tough
learn
for me
Python.
to.
See, eventually, if you want to become a really good data engineer, right? If you want to advance in this career of data engineering, you will have to learn Python,
So
right?
the same data frame will be like PySpark also will come under the same frame, right?
See, PySpark, now again, I'm not talking about learning pandas and everything first, right? That you can eventually learn. Just to understand the syntax of Python, how Python works, how do you define the syntax, how do you create a list, right? Or how do you create a dictionary, tuples, sets, all those things. You should have understanding of Python. Now, eventually going forward, you should have a deeper understanding of Python, and PySpark will align to that. All right.
Okay.
PySpark is based on Python, correct? So therefore, Python/PySpark. But if you want, you can understand PySpark from scratch also, right? But then there would be something, if I've used a list somewhere, you'll not understand what a list is, what you can do with the list, right? So some confusion is there. So it's better you start with Python today itself. If you're enrolling to this course, start with Python today. If you give just 20-30 minutes to Python every day, right, it will become really easy for you.
So, that community free account of Azure account, will it charge for any services or it's completely free, sir?
It's completely free. All right. And it also depends on how many debit and credit cards you have. All right. I'll give that information also to all of you that we'll be creating free Azure accounts. Now, one free Azure account is, I'll just show you. My screen is not shared, right? Let me just share my screen. Yeah. So what we'll be creating over here is free Azure account. So this will give you $200 of credit, which is valid for 30 days, right? If you have Master or Visa card, right? So MasterCard or Visa card, if you have, you can create as many accounts as you want. Let's say you have a total of three, different MasterCards and Visa card assorted. you can create three free Azure accounts. So the validity will be 90 days, right? But don't create a free Azure account right now. If you're enrolling for this course, don't create it right now. Let me first explain you the basics of Azure. Create it after that, right? So let's say if 1 week or 3-4 days is the time that we are taking to cover up the basics, right? So during that time, don't create it. Create it after you understood what Azure is, what are basic services in Azure, how you're going to use it. And then if you create it, you're actually saving yourself some time on the subscription, right? So I'll also guide you as to how you are going to create this free Azure account. Step-by-step process I'll show you, right? And then you can all get started on Azure. Let me show you one thing. Yeah,
So
others, you can
debit
go ahead and
card
ask your
also
questions.
will take, with
Yes,
debit
it
card
takes
also we
debit
can
card
do
also.
or
It takes debit card also, credit card also. The only thing is it should be either a MasterCard or a Visa card. It does not accept RuPay card. All right. So now my request to all of you is to please attend the demo session on Monday. All right. We have a demo session on Monday. Please make sure you attend it. I guess Nitya would be able to clear. Nitya, will the same
Yes,
link work?
yes, the
Yeah.
same timing and the same link.
Yes. So
But
the same
uh,
timing, same link
yeah.
you can use to join in.
Yeah,
All right.
but the actual session, the training session is on morning time, Monday to
Hmm.
Friday, morning 7 a.m. to 8:15 a.m.
Only the demo session will be in evening, right?
Yeah.
The actual session will be early morning session from 7 a.m. to around 8:15 a.m. every day, right? So that is
Yes.
also good for you, right? You don't get overwhelmed with knowledge every day, right? It's just a 1 hour worth of knowledge, and in your daytime, in your free time, you can go through the concepts, revise the concepts, do the hands-on that will be given to you, right? So for every topic, we have hands-on. When we start with understanding Azure, we are creating virtual machines. So there's a hands-on for that also. You'll create your own virtual machine, you'll launch it, you'll work on your virtual machine, right? We'll create databases, you will create different types of databases, you'll create Synapse workspace, you'll create your scripts within Synapse. All of it you'll be doing, right? Side by side. So almost every day, right? Barring the initial few introduction based days, right? You will be creating or you'll have hands-on for almost every topic that we discuss, right? So Monday, 15th September, right? 2025 at around 9 p.m. IST, we meet again. And in this session, I'll actually take you through the concepts. All right. So it's going to be like a demo class as to what you can expect in the class, how the teaching is going to be, how the class flow is going to be, right? So to experience that, we have a session on Monday, 15 September, 9 p.m. Please, join this. All right. Attend the free session. And then, from 16th, we have the regular sessions, paid sessions. All right. Is that clear to everyone?
You got it.
Yeah.
experience
All right.
wise, how many of years can we project with this training
You can
level
easily
of?
claim around 2 to 3 years of experience.
Okay.
All right. And then again, it depends on you, how much hard work you're putting in, right? How many, because see, I will be teaching you 80%, 90% of it, right? 10% is your hard work. How do you remember it? How do you try out more use cases, right? If you've created that free account, are you going to every, scenario and then implementing it on your own? Because practice is what is required, right? So the more you practice, the higher level of experience you can claim, right? But if you've not practiced anything, obviously it's a problem from your end, right? So one commitment that you will have to give me before you join this session is that you will be regularly practicing. You'll always have Azure portal open on your machine wherever you are, right? Obviously, not in your free time, not in your personal space, but when you're in the learning phase and everything, you'll give time to it every day. All right.
Any
Yeah, go ahead.
any upgradation you have done in the past batches to this current batches, sir? Because almost you have completed 8, 7, it seems. So,
Yeah, a lot of new features,
compatibility.
right? I think when we started, we did not have fabrics at all, right? So fabrics is one important thing that we've added. You know, majority of the services have been the same. It's all been on the Databricks and Fabric side where we're seeing innovation. All right. All right. All right then. Thank you for joining in, everyone. It was a pleasure having all of you here with us today. And I expect all of you to please at least join the demo session on Monday. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so please reach out to us if you have any other queries related to the training.
Yeah.
So we will help you to answer the questions.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Shreyas.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you, Shreyas. Thank you, Nitya.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shreyash.